When you get in the morning and you see that lineup of trucks, not only is that raising the anxiety of your team, but it's also hitting your bottom line. That dwell time of those trucks sitting there waiting is hitting you, and it's hitting the bottom line really, really hard. It's going to be high fees for no reason other than not getting that throughput. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 different ways of how you're going to fix your dwell times. The first one is going with paperless documentation and improving your communication. One of the biggest things that's going to affect your dwell time is the check-in process. A lot of times you either have a security gate that someone has to go to, the driver has to go to and check themselves in, or there's an actual booth or office that the drivers have to go in and let them know that they're on the property and what they have. Automating that and going paperless and having a check-in flow that gets rid of that lineup of trucks or that interaction waiting on people to get that information to the driver is going to increase that performance and get them through the door a lot quicker. Having some software in there to help with the forms that you need to fill out that the drivers can do before they even communicate with anyone in your team is going to automate that process and make it so much smoother as they get into your facility. Along with that is the communication part of it. If they have to go talk to someone at the security gate and then the office or have to have that communication, you are waiting on someone to answer them and give them that right information. Not only that, but odds are the drivers don't even have the right information in front of them of what order they're picking up or any other information that they need. So right there, it's going to take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes to even an hour to get that right information. By having the forms filled out beforehand and then also having an automated way of communicating to those drivers, you get rid of that whole waiting process. And now that driver will have all that information ready to go and back into the dock door, and there's no waiting. And when your team looks at that load and is ready to either load it or unload it, they can pull up all that information on their phone and they can just load that truck and get it over with and look on to the next one. The common problem that everyone has is that the driver shows up at your facility, tells you a number or doesn't even have any information and says, I'm here to pick up this load. From there, your team has to try to figure out what's going on. So that's looking at load numbers, order numbers, any number they possibly can grab, and trying to correlate that to what this driver is supposed to be picking up. Now, from there, your team finally says, you know what, I have no idea what's going on. Please talk to your dispatch. So the driver has to get involved with their dispatch. Dispatch doesn't know anything else. They have to contact the customer. And as we're going through these processes, you have to realize that everyone has to be there picking up their phone or answering emails in time. This can easily take 30 minutes to an hour just to get an answer of what order number I'm picking up and where am I going. So it's such a common problem and it's such an easy one to get rid of by using some software to alleviate that pain point. Number 2 is improve your yard flow and get your staging right. Let's face it, we have some issues at all of our facilities. A lot of times it's that flow of trucks in and out of facilities. We only have so much space to have trucks either lined up or ready to go, or even dock doors to have those loads getting loaded or unloaded. By improving the flow of your yard itself, and then also where those trucks need to be at any given time, is going to help out exponentially. One of the biggest things that I heard about just recently was having flatbed loads coming into their facilities. And if the driver parks in the wrong spot, it cuts off the whole yard. Pretty common occurrence, and it happens all the time. And it's one of those things that if you have better communication with those drivers, now automate text messages and the check-in flow really helps with this. It helps with the drivers having more information to make better decisions and to know where to go. Even for them to stop in front of a bunch of dock doors, get out of their truck, and come talk to someone asking where they need to go, that kills so much time. Right there is 5, 10, 15 minutes that it doesn't have to be. So having that flow is going to really, really help you. The other side of it is having everything staged and where it needs to be. When I'm looking at a facility and I'm getting loads ready to get out the door, if I'm driving all the way to the other side of the facility to get that load and then bring it to the front, get it on the truck, getting it out, that's a lot of wasted time. Getting those loads staged at the front of your facility or by the dock doors where they're supposed to be going, so much more quick on that side of things. You're going to be able to go through, see what's going on, make sure it's the right load. So even that right there is going to help out with QC and quality control and making sure that we get the right load to the right truck. But also when they start loading that truck up, it's quick. You're going in and out of that truck and you're going to get that done a lot quicker than if it was halfway down the facility. Not everyone can do cross docking, but whenever you can, it's one of those things that's a small hack that's going to make your life a little bit easier. Instead of having that load, having to go back to storage or into a certain area, waiting for that truck to show up tomorrow, by improving your booking and your automations, you're going to be able to have trucks getting unloaded, cross-docked, and loaded back onto another truck right then and there. It's going to save you at least 30 minutes to an hour on that load itself. And you compound that over the year, that's a massive increase. Now, not everyone can do that. Totally understand. A lot of times products can't be cross-docked, but it's one of those things to keep in the back of your mind that if you can, try and implement that as much as possible. One of the biggest problems that we face is trucks showing up at the same time. You're going to have a long lineup of trucks ready to come in. You don't have different levels of staff or forklifts or dock doors to help you out with that. It's one of those things you just have to kind of chew through that line and get it done. Now, using smart scheduling, what happens is you're going to start spreading out those loads throughout the day. Using a smart algorithm on top of that is when a customer or carrier goes to actually book and it spreads out the loads throughout the day equally. So you're not going to have a whole bunch of appointments coming in the morning. It only allows appointments to get booked sequentially throughout the day. One of the things that we hear a lot is first come, first serve. It's such a common problem that we're facing day to day in the industry. I was talking to someone earlier on this week and they were talking about their products. So they do strawberries and they're saying, you know what, we can't get rid of first come, first serve because we got to make sure that we have the product in inventory when they show up. So if we did booking, we couldn't do it. This is where I stopped and took a step back and asked, okay, well, what happens if you don't have any inventory and they show up? And it was kind of like that aha moment for them. They're like, well, I guess we'd have to turn them away. That's when they realized by using some smart scheduling, if they had those bookings, and it doesn't have to be far into the future. I think that's what people kind of get concerned of, especially in strawberries for this example. They're not booking 2 or 3 weeks out. They're booking 2 days out. But by having that, you're going to spread out the loads throughout the day. You're not going to have trucks waiting there. And then you're also going to have on time and picked accurately the number of strawberries to get that out the door. Now, not everyone's in the food and beverage. I get that. By using smart scheduling, you're going to have a way better flow of information and drivers and loads throughout your facility. And getting rid of first come, first serve is one of the things that Datadog specializes in. We have dealt with so many customers over the years that have done only first come, first serve. We actually specialize in helping these organizations transfer over from first come, first serve to a smart automated scheduling platform. And that's really where we shine. Not only are you going to get the software on that side of things, but we're also going to help you with the operations side and get your whole team up to speed and ready to go on that side. So things like having the loads spread out through the day automatically through our algorithm, you don't even have to worry about that. Having more visibility and communication and automated communication with drivers as they check in, Datadogs is going to take care of all that. But if you don't want to implement or you're not ready to implement a system like Datadogs, the other way you can do it is using an Excel spreadsheet. By utilizing that, having your dock door allocations and flow of traffic, you can optimize that on a spreadsheet. The downside to that is there's a lot of manual intervention. You're going to have to really look at all the rules that you have set up, understand all the rules, and make sure you're booking them into the right areas. It's going to help your team a lot, though. There is no question, but it's going to drive up labor costs at the end of the day. So there is going to be a hit to your bottom line. Overall, the operation is going to save a lot of money and that congestion is going to come way down. Using real-time tech and visibility. Using smart scheduling helps you in the first step of this whole process. The downside is what happens when that truck actually shows up in your facility. You've had all this flow working really, really well of making sure that you're not overbooking yourself. But how do you know now if this truck actually showed up or if it was taking longer than it needed to? That's where things like GPS and telemetrics really come into play and really help out what's happening and give you better insight of if a truck's going to show up, if they're going to be late, if there's traffic. The downside to that is how do you get that information? Now, a lot of companies out there are using third parties to get their goods moving around. And that's going to lead to a gap where you're not going to actually have visibility into where they are. So that's where the GPS side of things fails. On your side, what you can control is the biggest thing that you have to look at. When those trucks are showing up, or if they're not showing up, you need to be able to run reports on that and get KPIs based on that information. Using systems like Datadogs, you can actually see automatically if a truck showed up or if it was a no-show. And then on top of that, you can start collecting scorecards on how a customer or carrier are performing. So are they hitting their time slots? Are they showing up on time? Or are they just showing up whenever they want? These are the KPIs that are so important to make sure that you can hold them accountable. And that's another big thing that I hear about from our customers a lot of times is holding a carrier or customer accountable. There's a lot of fear around saying to a customer, hey, you're not hitting your time slots, you need to do a better job. And I'm not really sure where that kind of comes from, but I always try to hammer into our customers' lives that that doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter that you're going to have these tough conversations, because at the end of the day, it's going to improve your operations. And it's not going to hurt the relationship with that customer or carrier at the end of the day. I can promise you that. Instead, what you can do is if you have data to go to them and say, hey, if you actually show up on time, or you book appointments, or you're actually following all of our processes that we have set up with like the check-in flow and everything like that, you can actually cut off 30 minutes of your day. You can have your stats that show, hey, whenever you show up and you don't book an appointment, it takes, say, 4 hours. But when you actually book an appointment, you show up on time, you're in and out in 45 minutes, and our overall turnaround time is an hour, let's say. So all that comes back to what the dwell times are. Having that truck waiting because they didn't schedule an appointment or they didn't hit their time slots is a killer. And that is really on them at the end of the day. But having that conversation and being able to hold them a little bit more accountable is going to help your operations flow so much more, and it's going to be so much easier for your team. The last one is training. This is kind of a funny one to think about because it seems so simple and seems so obvious. When you're looking at this, you want to make sure your team is trained up and knows what's going on and the flow of operations. Seems really simple and doesn't seem like something you actually need to hammer into your team's brain, but let's go into a scenario here. Driver pulls up, they don't know exactly where they're going. They go and they find the first person that's walking around and they say, hey, I'm here to pick up this load. That person's like, okay, cool. Go talk to that guy, this supervisor over there, or this person over here. Now that driver needs to walk around and try to find a person that knows what's going on just to get a simple question answered. Instead, having something in place where it's, we know that when a new driver comes in here, that they park on the side here, they need to make sure that they check into the office, or that they, by this time when they are in the back here, that they know which dock door they're going to. So you can say already, yeah, you can come into dock 5. So having this simple process of just training your team to have a little bit more knowledge of the flow of transportation and trucks in your yard is going to cut down that dwell time, because that driver is not walking around trying to figure out where they need to be and what they need to do. On top of that, I think we all can agree having a driver walk around a facility inside or out is super scary and just is a huge red flag and is looking for an accident to happen. I know every manager out there does not want to see that and really is upset when they walk through a yard and see that. So making sure that you have your operations really hammered down. Your team knows where they need to be and where the drivers need to be at any given time. And then having that automated check-in and communication. Text messages going to that driver automatically telling them that back in the dock 5, you unload that. Now the automatic text message says you can drive away. They don't even get out of their cab. They're not wasting time, and health and safety is so much better than having that driver roam around trying to figure out what's going on. So with these 5 steps, it looks like it's a lot at the end of the day. But when we take a step back and take a look at what you're going to be saving in time, it's massive. Even if you have 1 truck a day where you cut down that time for them to figure out where they need to be or what that load is by 30 minutes or an hour, that's almost a full truck that you can have in and out on top of it. If we look at that throughout the whole year, that's a massive increase. I can almost promise you that you'll save 10, 20, maybe even 30% of your dwell time by having these procedures implemented into your operations. If you're looking for more tips to be a more effective warehouse manager, check out our next video.